let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
The next day.
Alert, and the breaking news of the day is on tariffs, and we just have word that the Mexican president spoke to Donald Trump, and they are going to pause the tariffs on Mexico for 1 month. And Jackie Heinrich is standing by at the White House with more on this development. Hi, Jackie.
Good morning, Dana. Yeah, that was pretty short-lived. The president spoke with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, the two sides agreeing to pump the brakes on the tariffs and then retaliatory tariffs that Mexico promised for the period of a month while they work out the terms of an agreement. The Mexican president just posted some of the details. Mexico is going to immediately send 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the United States, particularly fentanyl. Also, she says the U.S. is going to work with Mexico to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico, something that Mexico hit back at when President Trump was threatening these tariffs. Was they were calling on the U.S. to curb the flow of guns from the U.S. down to the cartels. Sheinbaum says the two teams are going to begin working today on two fronts, security and trade. And President Trump posted on Truth Social that part of that team is going to include Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, as well as some representatives from Mexico.
All right, guys, so as I predicted yesterday when I first covered the impending tariffs on Mexico and Canada, I said, I don't know if this is actually going to go through, okay? And the reason why is because of how devastating the tariffs would be on Mexico and Canada. Now, with China, who knows, right, at this point? But it seems like with Mexico and Canada, the tariffs may not be implemented for now, okay? Because lo and behold, the Mexican president, Miss Claudia Sheinbaum, came out and said that her and President Trump have reached an agreement when it comes to delaying the implementation of these tariffs. Now, this clearly is a W for Trump.
President Donald Trump just announced he will pause the 25% tariffs on Mexican imports. We have reporters in Mexico City and in the North Lawn of the White House. Let's go straight to CNN's Valeria Leon in Mexico City for the latest. Valeria, midnight was the deadline here where tariffs were supposed to be implemented. They're not now. Why?
So in a surprising shift, tariffs on Mexican goods are now on pause after President Sheinbaum and President Trump reached an agreement. So rather than presenting today Mexico's response to the Trump administration tariffs, President Sheinbaum confirmed that she had a conversation with President Trump this morning, what she described as a long call of 45 minutes to talk about immigration issues and the interest that both countries have in reducing fentanyl consumption. Both governments reached an agreement to secure the border. Mexico has agreed on deploying National Guards to the Mexico-U.S. border, and the Mexican president said that she asked Trump to cancel tariffs on Mexican products, which Sheinbaum said that Trump agreed to. Mexico's economy minister, Marcelo Ebrard, will be in charge of this negotiation with U.S. government officials. Let's put the tariffs on pause forever. That's what Mexico's president suggested to Trump this morning, but they agreed to pause tariffs for 1 month. Part of the agreement, she explained, has to do with the U.S. government committing to reducing the traffic arms into Mexico.
Yeah, so I find it to be hilarious how the Chihuahua president is demanding that the tariffs go away forever, right? Never, ever, ever threaten us with tariffs again. And it's like, no. That's not how this works, right? That's not how this works at all, okay? We will postpone the tariffs. We will delay them until you prove that you can hold up your end of the bargain. Now, I'm not sure what's so controversial about using tariffs to get Mexico or our neighbors to actually, help protect the American people, okay? To be good neighbors. What is so controversial about that? What is so bad about that? I'm not entirely sure, okay? But we're going to talk more about the mainstream liberal media and the coverage of this W for Trump. But first, we got to talk about Canada, because as of the making of this video, no agreement has been made between Canada and the U.S. yet. However, I predict that there probably will be an agreement soon before the tariffs are implemented. But if not, the tariffs are probably not going to last that long, because these tariffs would definitely hurt Mexico and Canada a lot more than they would hurt us, which again is why Mexico decided to come to the table, okay, and to have a real negotiation about what they're going to do. And now it's Canada's turn.
Valeria Leon, thanks so much. I want to turn to CNN's Kevin Liptak, who joins me now from the North Lawn at the White House. Kevin, there was also a call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this morning. We haven't heard of any pause there, but there is supposed to be another one this afternoon. Is this just a bilateral Mexico-U.S. thing, or do we expect another pause also applying to the Canadians?
Yeah, at this point, this only applies to Mexico. And I'll tell you, after that phone call with Justin Trudeau, officials I talked to on the Canadian side were not all that optimistic about a last-minute reprise from these tariffs. But of course, they have scheduled up this follow-up conversation at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And it, remains to be seen whether Trump will extend the same 1 month pause on those 25% tariffs on Canada as he did on Mexico. One thing that we've heard from officials this morning is that the negotiations with the Mexicans that occurred throughout the weekend were going much better than the conversations were going with the Canadians. We heard that from Kevin Hassett, one of the top economists here at the White House earlier this morning. Now, I think the big question is whether or not this is a huge surprise. We did hear from Donald Trump just last night that he didn't expect anything dramatic to come out of these telephone calls. But on the other hand, look at those numbers on the screen. The stock market, at one point, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down almost 600 points this morning.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. We will see what happens with Canada. Again, my prediction is that they will fold just like Mexico, or they will fold soon after the tariffs are implemented. But me personally, I don't see anything wrong with getting our so-called allies to carry more of their weight to help the American people, right? What's wrong with that, right? But apparently our media has been so brainwashed to basically believe that being pro-America is a bad thing just because they hate Trump, right? So essentially these people are starting to root against America because they hate Trump, right? That's essentially what's happening. Right? That's what's happening. So without further ado, let's get into the cackling hens cope over the fact that Trump just picked up another W over the Mexican president.
Republicans have long been against tariffs, and there's a reason the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal, is calling this the dumbest trade war in history. Yep. But I think the open question of people right now who are really nervous because these costs will fall to American consumers is this a bargaining chip for Trump because he wants to get something from these countries, or is he going to go full bore and commit to this? And there's early indications it may be a negotiating tactic. So the Mexican president, as you mentioned, came out and said there's a pause in the tariff. She's agreeing to send 10,000 Mexican troops to the U.S. border to help with border crossings. He's having a second call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today, see if there may be a concession there. And I would just say this. I've traveled all over the world as part of U.S. delegations in diplomacy in my previous capacity. And what makes America the most powerful nation on earth is that we have friends and allies. And it's because we engage in international trade. We don't bully our friends. We show up and give international aid. And if we stop doing that, which is what I feel like Trump is leaning into, I'm not saying that that's fully what he's doing yet. We're ceding our role of global superpower to China because they will step in, they will show up, and they will be friends to the people that we're giving not a nice signal to in Canada and elsewhere.
Wow. Again, listen to the framing of this. They always frame these conversations around, well, Trump is a bully. He's bullying our allies. And it's like, I'm not entirely sure how he's bullying Mexico when he's essentially just asking Mexico, hey, help secure the border, right? Help do something that is going to stop hundreds of thousands of Americans from dying. That's what he's doing. Hey, do something that's going to stop women from being raped. That's going to stop children from being trafficked. Again, what is wrong with that, right? I feel like if there's any time to be a so-called bully, it's to be a bully on behalf of the American people. Now, I don't think that he asked too much from Mexico. I don't think it's too much for Mexico to use their military to secure the border, just like we're using our military to secure the border. I don't think it's too much to ask Mexico to, hey, deal with your cartel problem, right? Deal with your drug trafficking problem. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if he have to use tariffs in order to do it, then it is what it is. It's almost as if these people think that we're supposed to allow ourselves to be ripped off, just so that, we can get away with unjustified wars, right? Because that's essentially what the argument is. Well, the reason why these countries are so okay with the United States and us, toppling these random dictators and stuff like that in the name of democracy is because, the United States, we give them all this aid, right? We give them all this aid. So we're basically paying them off to turn a blind eye to when we do stuff that goes against our stated values of democracy, right? And all this other stuff that, they use as BS excuses for invading countries of dictators that we don't like. But here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing. Canada only spends 1.38% of its GDP on the military. Well, why is that? Why is it? Now, the NATO treaty guidelines recommends that countries spend at least 2% of their GDP on military spending. Now, it's not just Canada that's lagging behind the NATO guidelines. A lot of these countries in Europe that are part of NATO, they're also lagging behind. Now, why are they lagging behind? Well, the reason why they're lagging behind is because secretly, or not so secretly really, they're relying on the United States of America. If any of these countries were to be attacked by Russia or China, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to call up America and be like, hey, can you help us, right? Can you fight this war on our behalf? So essentially, we're subsidizing their military because our military is going to be used to help their military or to help defend them if they're attacked, right? That's essentially what's happening. So they don't have to spend as much on military spending. As long as the United States, as long as we keep spending, as long as our taxpayer dollars go towards defense, they're going to be fine. And they know this. So if we got to go fight and die in a potential war for you, making the ultimate sacrifice, I don't think it's too much to ask these countries, hey, pull your weight. Help us secure our border, please. Help us stop drugs from coming into our country, please. Because we all know, again, if ish hits the fan, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to come to the United States. They're going to come to the United States. They're going to come to us. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. But you need to pull your weight. You have to pull your weight because that's what allies and friends do. Okay? That's what allies and friends do. I don't think President Trump is asking too much here.
That that Wall Street Journal article she just referenced has a line which reminds us of the old Bernard Lewis joke. It's risky to be America's enemy, but it can be fatal to be its friend. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. He is signaling to our allies, long-held allies, largest trading partners. These are the people who vote with us in the international organizations. These are the people who send soldiers to go to war with us when we are fighting, in the Middle East, when we're fighting any sort of war. Canada sends its soldiers. These are the people that have been by us time and time again, that send their pilots and their planes to help us put out our fires, literally and figuratively. These are our friends, and we are treating them like trash. We are bullying them. And, it's as if, I look at this thing in Mexico and I'm thinking, okay, as if deporting good, hardworking immigrants wasn't enough. As if emboldening the racial profiling and bigotry against Latinos wasn't enough. As if revoking temporary protective status for 500,000 Venezuelans wasn't enough. As if bullying Panama wasn't enough. Now he's going to tax our tequila and avocados?
Yeah.
Wow. What do the Latinos call women like this? Gordas, right? Gordas, right? I mean, leave it at Ana Navarro to be thinking about food, right? She's thinking about tequila, alcohol, and avocados. Oh, my tequila is going to be more expensive. My alcohol is going to be more expensive. The avocado is going to be so expensive. Hey, you might want to lay off the avocados a little bit, right? They're high in fat, okay? So, I'm just saying, maybe that might benefit Miss Ozipic Queen here. But again, listen to what these people care about. They care more about these other countries than they care about the American people. That deal that President Trump worked out with the Mexican president helps protect American lives. It's just common sense. And we didn't even have to give up anything. We just asked Mexico to do more. Hey, we need you to do more. We need you to pull your weight, okay? You benefit more from our relationship than we benefit from you. So we need a little bit more out of you to make the partnership even. That's a partnership, right? But see, they think that the United States, we're supposed to be a state that just gives out welfare to everybody else. And they can just take advantage of us. It doesn't matter if we're getting what we feel like we deserve in return. These people are anti-American, right? These people are anti-American. In a sane world, most people will be asking the question of, why did it take all this to get Mexico to do it, right? Why did it take all this to get Mexico to do it? If they're such a good ally and a good friend, why did we have to go this far? Why? That's the real question that should be asked.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, I think it'll make sense when you want to get some tequila and it's really high. The cost of it is really high. I think that what people fail to realize, many people, is how interconnected our economies are. You know, they're like, America first, America first. Let's make everything here. Let's do everything here. Let's be very insulated. And that sounds good. It sounds patriotic, but we are geopolitically connected to the rest of the world. We don't want to be isolated from everyone else. And I'll just say, you know, Mexico, Canada, and China together accounted for more than 40% of total U.S. imports last year. But more importantly, Canada and Mexico are the top buyers of U.S. exports in more than 72% of all export categories. 72%. We send our stuff over there. So now if there are these tariffs, that's going to cause problems, billions of dollars of problems. And if the tariffs, if they are in turn return the tariffs, let's say it's your coffee, you have a coffee store, and you're going to sell a cup of coffee, and your coffee is $5. We know how expensive coffee is, right? Yeah. You sell coffee for $5. Now the coffee beans coming in from Mexico are now $5 more. You think if I own that shop, I'm going to eat that $5? No. Your cup of coffee just costs $10.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, I find it to be fascinating how all of these liberals, these leftists, have now become supply-side economists when it comes to these tariffs. Okay, they now understand that taxes are passed on to the consumer. Okay, something that they refuse to acknowledge when Democrats out here talking about taxing the rich and taxing big corporations, right? That ultimately the taxes that these things are passed on to the consumers. They understand that concept when it comes to tariffs. But when it comes to Democrats and their tax proposals, all of a sudden they don't really understand it anymore. They don't believe in supply side economics, right? It's just very fascinating, okay, to see these people do mental gymnastics in order to essentially root against America, right? You're rooting against America getting better trade terms. You're rooting against saving American lives. You're rooting against stopping illegal immigration. Like, these people, at some point, these people should really question, who is your allegiance to? Is your allegiance to this country, or is your allegiance to anti-Trumpism, right? Because I think anti-Trumpism is who these people are loyal to, and it's really a damn shame. Okay, in a sane world, the liberal media should be praising President Trump and asking questions about why is it that Mexico wasn't doing this before, right? Why did it take all this to get our so-called friend to step up for America in a time in which we are trying to solve a big problem, to save the lives of American people? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.